Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you guys have enjoyed your break. So, before we resume, I would request you all to please take a moment and scan the feedback form to scan and follow us on social media and stay updated on our upcoming events. Session, that is Learn, Unlearn, Relearn. The only thing constant is change. For this, I would request Mr. Prasanna Shivakamat, Group Head Learning and Development at Atos. Prasanna, known as the Unlearn guy, is the head of people development at Atos, where he designs global learning ecosystem for over 1 lakh plus employees passionate about reinvention. He champions unlearning at the first step to meaningful growth in leadership and life. Honored as a Future Learning Leader 2024, he has spearheaded Atos digital learning transformation, led the global AI fluency program, and built leadership program with 95% plus satisfaction. Beyond corporate learning, he inspires mid-career professionals through his personal brand, Unlearn with Prasanna, sharing strategies for the second act of career growth with community of 5,000 plus professional monthly. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Hello everyone, good morning. Okay, so thank you very much Mitali for the introduction. I would not spend too much time on introduction, but I would like to focus on one particular aspect which is very common to me and the topic today. So learn, unlearn, relearn. Unlearn is something very common to an extent that along with my role in the organization as a group head of people development, if you see on my LinkedIn, the second line talks about me myself calling an unlearn guy. And I will tell you why. I was impressed by this story of a Zen monk many years ago. You might have heard about it, but at the risk of boring you, I will repeat that story. The story goes like this. There was a disciple who joins a monastery. He goes to the monk and he says that I have come here to learn from you. So the guru or the monk says that, fantastic, but let's start with a cup of tea. And he asks him to get a cup so that he can pour tea inside his cup. And when he starts pouring the tea, at certain stage when the tea is filled up to the brim, by the way, when I say tea, I think some of them are still having their cup of tea outside, so please come inside. So when he fills the tea up to the brim of the cup, the disciple is a bit surprised and he starts reacting saying that, oh wait, master, please wait. But the master doesn't wait. He keeps pouring the tea. And the tea starts falling over and then he says, what's the problem, sir? I had no idea, what are you doing here? And the monk says that this is exactly the first lesson which you have to learn before even we start any lessons, which is to empty your cup. That is, if you come here with a filled cup, you will not be able to gain any knowledge, to gain any competencies or any capabilities for yourself to excel in your career or wherever you want to go. There, in the case of a monk, it's a different context. Now, when we hear to this story, the first thing which comes to our mind is to empty the content part of it. The tea inside the cup is the content, and that's why we think that getting rid of the skills, getting rid of the knowledge is what we are talking about. But we are not stopping there. The real game starts when you start unlearning the context, and that is very important here because just getting rid of context is not going to help, and the context comes from your belief systems. If your belief is such that I am doing the right thing and nothing is going to change it, or I know what exactly is to be done, every time you are saying yourself that I know and it is further reinforcing the belief, it is not going to help by unlearning only the content. So let me give a few examples and show you how we are going to look into this. So first example I would like to show you, many of you might have heard about how vast market share Nokia had. There was a time when almost 40% of the mobile market was captured by Nokia. We all know the story of Nokia, what happened later on. So if you look at what happened in 2007, when Steve Jobs came to launch the first iPhone, how many of you are aware of the presentation which Steve Jobs gave during the launch of iPhone? Please raise your hands. Oh God, very few people have seen that presentation, looks like. And I'm saying, oh God, because I think it's a masterpiece on marketing. I think each one of you, whenever you are going home and if you take long time like me to reach home, you will get sufficient time to Google or maybe find on YouTube the presentation of the launch of 2007 iPhone. It has nothing to do with whether you are a today you are an Apple fan or not fan, don't get into that. I know many people might have problems with Apple also. They might be making fun of today's iPhones also. Nothing to do with that. Irrespective of all that, just look at the 2007 presentation, the first launch of the first iPhone. It is a mind-blowing thing. What he does there is, he shows one simple 2x2 thing. Everyone has seen that. All the consultant shows the 2x2 matrix. The vertical ray or the vertical axis talks about the smartness. So moving from zero smart level to highly smart phone. And the horizontal axis talks about the ease of working on the phone, the ease of doing work on the phone. And that's going from 0 to maximum on the horizontal or x-axis. Now, within the 2x2, he puts phones which were the old Nokia phones, which you remember, maybe the very first phones 20 years ago. Those phones he puts at the very bottom when it comes to smartness. He shows that. He just puts a normal phone there and he shows that. Then he puts that time Motorola's and the Blackberries into a little bit smart but not easy to use category in that quadrant. And then within 30 seconds, he just puts Apple iPhone in a green color or whatever circle he makes on the top right, showing that it will be highly smart and highly easy to use phone. And you suddenly see how the room transforms. So the way he presents is important not only from a presentation standpoint, but also from a disruption standpoint. So what he is talking about is that we are not only eradicating the so-called non-smartphones, but also we are directly challenging head-on to all the so-called smartphones by making, literally he's indirectly mocking those phones by saying that, see, you can see a QWERTY key inside a BlackBerry. I don't know why we have a key. When we have worked on laptops without having a key on the screen, you can use a mouse and you can do it. Then why is it not done? So you can see the argument which he makes. But the argument is important because even today, when we talk about change, disruption, we think that things are going good. If you see here the comment coming from the then Nokia CEO, Stephen Elop, he says that we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. Now that's a thought to ponder upon. None of us here in this room are doing anything wrong. जो कर रहे हैं वो करना चाहिए इसलिए कर रहे हैं. Training need analysis has been done this way for many years. I am using the same template. In fact, I have revised the template. मैंने तो Excel फाइल में उसके macros भी नए बनाए हैं, which will help me in finding a more detailed analysis, etc. But are the processes required and are they required to be done in this way? We are not challenging that belief. That's why I started with the story where many a times we only focus on the content, but focusing on the content will not help. And that thing, if you think that AI will help us with that, unfortunately it will not help us with that. I'll give you another example, and it's a personal example. I have been trying on developing a small app, and while developing the app, I asked AI, Claude I checked with Gemini, I also checked with ChatGPT. All three gave me a project plan of 6 months. They said that you should launch it in February 2026. Now that's typically how project managers give the response, right? So it's an average project manager. AI is an average project manager of all the project managers in the world, and it gave me the response in the same way. It did a proper planning and gave me the launch date of somewhere in 2026 for a small, simple app, which is like a micro app, which should be done and dusted within 15 days. I myself should not be using that app. It's that kind of a thing. But then it gives you a 6 months, 12 months plan. Because same, again, the content is the same, and based on that, it is going to predict. Of course, you can challenge it and then say that why 6 months, why can't we do it in 6 weeks? And AI, the sycophant it will immediately say, oh, sorry, you are such a brilliant person. I didn't know that you have already this idea. Yes, you are right, we can do it in 2 weeks. Why not? This is great. So it will change itself, that's not a problem. But the whole point is, including AI, everyone will be thinking in a given set of beliefs. So the whole idea, if you want to challenge and disrupt yourself, is to challenge that belief. Let us look at what exactly is happening in this area. So when we talk about learning retention, only 30% of retention happens if you are going ahead with the existing belief. If my beliefs are not changed, whatever I tell you or whatever you learn from anyone else or whatever you learn from any books or the experts or whatever, it will not change much. Only 30% will be retained, 70% will be washed. You can use spaced repetition, modern techniques, and all those things, but it will not help. The second disruption area which you can see here, Since 1958 to 2012, around this, the data is around of that era, but I don't see much has changed after that. In fact, some few companies might have gone below again. The Fortune 500 companies, only 52 companies from the original list are still there. Rest of all the 400 plus companies are vanished. Vanished. I'm not saying that they are not in the Fortune 500 list. I'm saying that those companies are no more there. So that is the kind of disruption which has happened in the last few years, and especially in the last 2 decades, you will see this number getting further changed. And if you look at the way the people who have adopted, their growth rate is much higher. It can be 3x, in some cases it is 10x, and it can go up. So this is a very important aspect, and what is happening here from a neurology standpoint, if you see, our brain typically creates, like the way I am walking here in a field, the more number of times I walk, it creates a path. It happens, right? We have all seen that. Same happens with our brain. The kind of learning which you are having and repeating, reinforcement learning, again a concept which is also used in agentic AI and other parts of AI model training, is similarly happening in our brains as well. So the more number of times we walk the same path or do the same things or learn the same ideas, they get reinforced. So you are resisting to any new challenge or any new idea to an extent that you will not even agree to it. You will offhand reject it. And that is also counter confirmed by the change cycles also. So change cycle, you might have seen the Kobler-Ross model. It starts with denial. Every time a change is discussed, the first action is denial. You saw that during COVID, right? When someone told you that there is a virus which is causing COVID and which is creating problem, it was like some far off country has some disease or some problem. I don't have to worry about it. And in 6 months, that virus was inside my body. Right? So that happened. But initial reaction was denial. It is not going to come here. I don't have to worry. So that's how typically our brain operates. So we have to challenge there. Now I'm giving you a few ideas how to do it. So rather than just talking about the theoretical aspects, let's look at some practical aspects, what can be done here. So I would request you to list down 3 practices that brought you success in the past. What has made you successful? It can be some certifications. It can be your ability to do or solve problems in a particular way. Capture those. Just write down those. Don't have to use any fancy tools. Just write it with a pen and paper and write down the three things which made you successful. And then question, what if this approach is now limiting you? Is there a possibility? Again, don't go by first degree thinking. First degree thinking will say no. First degree thinking will say, no, this is the best thing to happen in your life. Are you an idiot or what? Please continue doing this. Don't stop there. You challenge it further and then you will realize that how the same things which made you successful in your past 20 years or so is going to limit you now. So that is number 1. Then the next exercise you have to do is to choose one assumption to challenge and test a completely different approach for the next 30 days. Just as a small micro experiment to check for the next 30 days what happens if I stop doing this in this particular way and start doing something else in a newer way. What are the new results? It can be start using new tools. It can be by starting to have a new coach. It can be starting to get guidance from someone who have never interacted, building new network, talking to new people. It can be many things, or subscribing to new newsletters or podcasts, whatever works for you. Try that and see the difference in the next 30 days. And then last but not the least, once you have gotten this new pattern, replace the old habits, because what will happen is those old habits will keep coming in between and they will cut your new pattern. So culture, we talk a lot about culture की बात बहुत करते हैं हम लोग, but if you see culture, it is nothing but the systems which make it possible. So if you build new systems, that will automatically lead to new habits and the new personal culture you will develop. So the best thing to do that is to create new systems. So work on the system creation in the last part of this whole exercise. And then let us see how it works. So the one thing if you want to do today, if we want to take one action today, I would recommend to write down one belief about your work that you have never questioned. Ask yourself, what if the opposite were true? This is a very powerful kind of a context to challenge what you are doing today and how it can be transformed. It requires deep thinking. No tool, no AI will help you in this. You have to spend time with yourself. What is normally called, or in our day-to-day life, we call it as self-reflection or introspection. I think Socrates many years ago came up with this fantastic line that life without introspection is not worth living. So I think this line is all about introspection, self-reflection, and trying to see and challenge your own beliefs and then disrupt them yourself without waiting the world to disrupt it. So I think with that I will complete my session. I have created one small assessment, especially in the context of AI. So those of you who are interested, feel free to take a link of this through the QR. It is an assessment, it's a free assessment. It is designed to be hyper personalized. So it's not like a typical linked questions that it will take you in a particular pattern. It will ask you specific questions about your career, about your way of working, and it will give you a score. And that score will tell you how AI resilient is your career today and what are the actions which you should take right from challenging your belief to make it more compatible, to make it in such a way that you start thriving through the change, not only trying to adapt to the change. So I think with that I will complete my presentation. If you have any questions, if we have time, feel free.
Any questions, anybody?
Yes, please. This would be?
Want to know what is it benchmarked to?
No, there is no benchmarking as such. It's self-assessment kind of a tool. And once you do the self-assessment, it will be mapped to your current ways of doing things. And it will give you a guidance on how to improve the score. So there is no particular any benchmarking behind this.
Okay. And based on the scores received, it tells me that, okay, for example, these are 1, 2, and 3 that I need to work upon. Is that mapped to any research-backed report or data which is globally published or something like that?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
This is a tool which I have made personally.
Sure.
And it is not having any affiliation with any organization or any kind of scientific research in that way, to be very honest. But it is enough for a person who is around in a mid-career, the way we are, most of us here in this room are, to help them get a guidance and a kind of a roadmap to move towards a better adaptable career for the coming future.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. But it's a good idea. We can look at the possibilities of further taking it to a higher level.
So why this question came is just recently World Economic Forum had published a report. So you can look at those skills and then see.
We can map some of this. Yeah. Honestly, this talks not directly from a hard skill standpoint, but this is more on the softer aspects of change.
That report has all the consolidated skills.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So I will take a look at that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone?
One last question, anyone? All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasanna, for sharing your insights, and thank you, audience, for an interactive session.
Thank
Huge
you.
round of applause for you.
Thank you.